All right, good evening. It's after 7 p.m. and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of Worcester City Council held here in council chambers tonight, May 19th. And this will also be live streamed on YouTube. Our next regularly scheduled council meeting will be Monday, June 2nd. Ms. Wooler, as clerk of council, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Abernathy?
Here.
Mr. Gaffey?
Here.
Mr. Jose?
Here.
Ms. Knappich? Mr. Malta?
Here.
Mr. Myers?
Here.
Ms. Warden? Here.
Ms. Knappich unfortunately had some surgery and was unable to attend this evening, so we had known about that in advance. We have a quorum tonight, and our agenda will remain as presented. At this time, I ask you to stand and join the members of City Council in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have a motion from council to approve the minutes as submitted from our last meeting?
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Warden.
Second.
Second by Mr. Abernathy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Communications from the mayor. Mr. Mayor, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. President, Council. Not a whole lot going on. I'll try to be as brief as possible on this. Since our last meeting, we had obviously Election Day, the day after. We now know that we're going to have 2 new council members joining us in January, and we're going to say goodbye, at least for the time being, to Mr. Myers and Ms. Knappich, after many years of service from both of them, although I'm sure that they will both remain active in the community. We also have a little more certainty on the Cornerstone site. I think we've talked about that a couple of times over the past year, and known that depending on, based on what the Board of Education had announced as to their plans, depending on how the bond issue came out, it could have put something on our plate in the next year or two, and now we know that's not going to happen. The status quo is going to remain there in terms of that being a school site for at least the time being. Although the building use will change beginning in the 2026-2027 school year, at which time the plan is, and this is the Board of Education's plan, certainly not ours, is for that to become a district-wide building for grades 3 and 4. May 7th, Joel and I did a presentation for Leadership Worcester at the Safety Center for the class going through now. They had a full day of government activity. I think we got 45 minutes. I'd like to think that we are the highlight of the day, but I'm pretty certain we were not. They do the police simulator, and it's always, and we're always right behind that, which is just terrible. It's the worst slot of the day. But we got through it, and we enjoyed it, and had a good class. May 8th was the annual Goodwill breakfast meeting. I know some of you have attended that and were there this year. In fact, if you don't like to cry in public, that's a bad one to go to, because they've got some real moving stories that they have every year. That same day we had the 9/11 meeting. We meet annually at least to review the 9/11 plan for the county. And then later that afternoon we did a tour of the hospital with Representative Craig and the Wayne County Commissioners. And again, it's recognition that it's the Worcester Community Hospital, but there's that community part is it's a county-wide hospital and beyond. And a lot of great things going on there. And then later that week, we had the semi-annual board retreat for the hospital at the end of Honey Run. So a busy week for the hospital. Then last week, the WDC met at Freelander Chalet, and I bring that up only because we meet monthly, but that chalet looked great. All the improvements are in. Obviously, the pool's not yet up and ready to go yet. That'll be happening very soon. But the chalet itself was the first time a lot of those people have been in there, and it showed very well. Something we can be proud of. Wayne County Commissioners meeting, Phil and I were in attendance for the Apraxia Day recognition. We're doing something as well with that, and Phil, I'm sorry, I hate to surprise you with that, but could you, at the commissioners meeting, they did some recognition of Apraxia Day and recognized the families that were involved locally, and we've got some involvement of that on our own. Could you touch on that real quickly?
Yeah, so there will be communication boards installed at the parks. We're waiting on the actual board itself to be finished and delivered. We expect that to be sometime at the end of June. So we will have a formal ribbon cutting at the park with the family that was there last Tuesday at the commissioners meeting to be in attendance as well. And a good wrap-up celebrating, just it's a really good cause. So we're going to do that. And we'll keep council notified when that officially happens. We're just kind of at the will of the contractor at this point.
So this has been a good partnership between the county and the city on this one, and ideally, we would have timed this to pull it off together, but just, we had some production issues on our end, so ours is gonna happen a little bit later, but it's really a joint project between the county and the city. Same day, we had a Wayne Trails meeting here in council chambers, and we've updated the Wayne Trails map. I don't know if it's on the website yet or not, but it is updated, showing all the trails, the multi-purpose trails that are in place now, and those are on the drawing board. There's more or less kind of a wish list of where we want to be down the road. So that keeps progressing. But by the same token, a lot of progress has been made. They did a little bit of a recap of the history of their organization and the trails, and again, there are a lot of things we still want to get done in that regard, but there's a lot of trails that are in place now, and which add not just to the community feel, but also, this getting riders and walkers and other people off the road, so it's a safety factor as well. Had a year-end meeting of the Business Advisory Committee with the Worcester City Schools on Friday. Obviously, they're dealing with not only the bond issue and what to do with the results of that vote, but also there's a lot of changes being discussed around the state that I think we all ought to be paying attention to. Just as an example, the one most crucial to this on the school side are proposed amendments to existing laws affecting school tax levies. But the larger ones that will affect us potentially would be a petition drive that's underway to put a constitutional amendment on the ballot to eliminate all property taxes, which, on the one hand, nobody likes paying taxes, so that sounds great, but okay, where is that revenue going to come from then? And, how does that impact us as the city of Worcester? And on the other end of this side of the equation, one of the candidates, and maybe the leading candidate for the governor of the state, is advocating doing away with state income tax. So if we're not going to have a sales tax, if we're not going to have a property tax, and we're not going to have an income tax, we're going to have our police department working on tips, and I hope it doesn't come to that. But, so anyway, just a lot of stuff going on that's going to affect everybody, not just in government, but all citizens in the state. Then last, I guess that was Friday as well, we met with Scott Ryan from the Ohio Department of Development out at Seaman Corporation. And Jonathan's got more of the background on that. It was a nice meeting put together by WDC. And Jonathan, if you want to take that.
Sure, thank you, Mayor. Yes, Scott Ryan from the Department of Development came to join us, and Seaman Corporation graciously hosted us countywide to present an award to the City of Worcester, a resolution acknowledging that the Worcester metropolitan area tied with another Ohio community for third place nationwide for top micropolitan ranking within the United States. So there are approximately 450 micropolitan communities in the state of throughout the Union. These are smaller micropolitan as opposed to metropolitan places where you typically have a city that has between 10, at least 10 but no more than 50,000 people. And it operates as its own independent economy, separate from being reliant on a metropolitan area such as Cleveland or Columbus. And one of the unique things about Worcester and some of our neighbors like Ashland and Findlay, which was the one community that beat us out this time around, and we'll get them next time. We operate truly independently as far as our economy goes. So that was a wonderful bit of news to get. This is a ranking through Insight Magazine, Conway, and this is a program that we have applied to each year, and it's a great way for us to be able to get some recognition with site development leads throughout the country. So we're thankful for everybody's help and support in being able to get that, and we're glad to be able to have that recognition, which is based on a lot of the developments that we have seen throughout the last year. Basically, it's project specific. How many new developments have you had within a community of your size? And so we're really punching above our weight. So that was great news, and we're thankful for the state of Ohio also spending the time to come out and share that with us.
And we want to thank Siemens Corporation for hosting that event. And of course, you know, whenever they host out there, they're happy to provide tours, and a number of people took advantage of that. And then Saturday afternoon, I met with Alpha Company, 837th Brigade Engineer Battalion of the Ohio National Guard. They're stationed out at the old armory on West Lincoln Way. I hadn't been in that building for 40 years probably. I've been in there a long time ago, but happy to report that they recently got a makeover there of pretty much the entire site. And the building's looking very good, as well as the area behind it. Met with Captain Shannon, who is in charge of that unit, and they are looking for ways to increase their interaction with the community. There's a Touch the Truck event, which I passed around some information on that. I said we would try to get the word out on that. And they are also, Greg Long has organized a cookout for the unit at Muddy's on July 26th, and I think we'll probably get an invite to council for that. Interesting group, a lot of, the National Guard deal is 1 weekend a month. They come to Worcester to train. It's probably 75 men and women. They spend the weekend here training, and then they do a 2-week summer training event at one of the bases around the Midwest. And they were kind of getting organized for that. So had a good afternoon there and enjoyed the opportunity to talk. Looking ahead, just a couple things. The schedule kind of slows down as we get into the summer. Doing a Breakfast of Champions event at Keene Elementary next week, and then an open house for Kip Crane, who is retiring from the Wayne County Schools Career Center after many years there. And we're looking for a happy retirement for him. Joel had a couple things he wanted to touch on, and I wanted to turn that over to him to do so.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Just wanted to let everybody know, in addition to a lot of the housing that's going on in Worcester right now, I also serve on the Wayne County Planning Commission, and I can't remember the last time they had a large subdivision submitted, but that did happen last week, and they voted to conceptually approve, I think it was around 36 homes near Northwestern High School, 301, 302 area. Same developer that has been developing the land for the 2 Ryan Homes subdivisions. My understanding this will be more for any other potential developers out there. It's as dense as they could get it, like 1.5 to 4 acres because of septics and things like that. But I just see that as a good thing. More housing is better, hopefully, to help bring down the market there. So just thought you'd be interested in that. Hopefully that moves forward. In addition to keeping an eye out for things going on at the state level, something else that's been out there, you probably read some articles about the push right now to get a ballot issue for eliminating qualified immunity for governmental entities. And I went to Ohio Municipal League, Ohio Association of Public Safety Directors meeting on May 8th, and I went to an Ohio Plan and Risk Management meeting on the 16th, and that's an entity that provides property and liability insurance for almost 900 entities in Ohio. And in both of those, one of the main topics was this push for a constitutional amendment to eliminate qualified immunity which I'm sure there'll be more things coming out. In order to get on the get on the ballot, I think they would have to have like over 400,000 signatures by July out of at least half the counties. So I've heard through the grapevine they might be pushing for next year to give them time. I will tell you that, and hopefully I'll be able to provide more information as that comes forth, but it would make every government entity, individual, contractor, that includes schools, all of us sitting here, liable for any activity, the way it's written right now, no limits. So a lot of frivolous lawsuits will come out of this. There is no insurance entity that will cover a governmental entity if this were to pass as written. Hopefully there'll be some changes to it. But as it is written, then we would not be able, no city would be able to get liability insurance. And I know that from talking to the people that provide the liability insurance. And these are the big companies that provide the reinsurance. And so that would have a big impact on our police, our fire. That'd be the first place. But really, right as it's written, any activity whatsoever. So parks and anything like that. So just to let you know, and hopefully more information will be coming out on that. I also want to give you a heads up that the transit proposals, they did come back in. We had 2 really good proposals. They came in last week. Kevin and I met with ODOT, and we've started the process of evaluating those. And I think just from our just real preliminary look at those, they're both really good, and sort of looking forward to that. So the next step, ODOT wants to have some interviews with them and do some further evaluations. So hopefully, our goal is to have it up and running by August. So it just depends on the contractor and the evaluations that we go through. So I just want to let you know. Speaking of housing, when I sent out the update to everybody last week, Jonathan wrote another memo specific to the Graham Farm annexation, and that's adjacent to the city, southwest side of the city there. So the survey is being done right now. We anticipate that coming to council like any other annexation, for council to authorize extension of services. So we just want to give you a heads up and give you some information on that as it's working its way through the system right now. There again, that would be what we would anticipate would be for residential housing out there to try to meet some of the need that we have. And I think that's all I had, other than 2 things, I guess. Tree City USA, we did do some plantings in honor of that down at Christmas Run Park, but we also, the organization, the national organization, held a event, and we had Joe Avila, our urban forestry supervisor, Dan Yarnell, our lead arborist, and Brian Fortune, one of our arborists, go there to represent the city. We've been named a Tree City USA for 49 years, so that's something to be proud of. So hopefully we can celebrate 50 years next year for that. So that was good news. And one last thing, it's been a few meetings ago that council authorized us to go out for authorization to get bids on the pool for Christmas Run. First step of that is we had to get proposals in for the slide features, and that's something that the Parks and Rec Committee met, and a couple other individuals were part of that committee, and established some criteria for that. Again, there were 2 proposals that were received for that, and based on that input that we got, they selected this one here, which is from Vortex Pools. They were both pretty similar, not the colors, right? This is just their concept that was part, but it'll be substantially similar to this. And then this will be this will be part of the bid package for the pool itself, so they can incorporate that into that design. So we just want to give you an early glimpse of something there. I will also say, if you remember in the information we provided, we were anticipating $500,000 just for the pool. Both of these came in under $400,000, both of the proposals, so which is good. That's all I had.
And I would note that if we lose qualified immunity, those would be beautiful to look at, but we won't let anybody use them, so. Thanks, Joel. 5 items of new business, all of which are scheduled for 3 readings. First is the tax budget. and Mr. Abernathy will be presenting that with probably an assist from Mr. Doherty, I imagine. Items 2 and 3 involve the CHIP program, and there's some urgency to those items that Jonathan will talk about when the time is appropriate. Item 4 is rezoning application for Weaver Custom Homes project on Burbank Road. There will be a public hearing on that application. And I would note the Planning Commission held a hearing on May 1st and voted unanimously to recommend approval of that application. And the final item is an application for renewal and expansion of the DORA program. To wrap up, a reminder that Monday, May 26th is Memorial Day, which is designated as a day to honor and mourn those that have given their lives in the service of our country. The Worcester Memorial Day Parade kicks off at 9 a.m. at the fairgrounds. I've been in office for almost a year and a half at this point, and almost every day I have an opportunity to represent the city of Worcester and its residents, and I'm very honored and proud to do so. But without question, participation in the parade and the ceremonies that follow up at Worcester Cemetery stand out among all the others. Part of that may be due to the fact that I'm named after an uncle that lost his life on April 15th, 1944, in the lead up to D-Day. That's someone I've never met, but I've heard about him my entire life, and it makes the sacrifice of so many brave men and women a little more meaningful for me than otherwise might have been the case. So if you have the chance to attend the parade, I would encourage you to do so. Even better yet, make your way out to the cemetery for what will be a very short but moving service. And if that isn't possible, please take at least a moment that day to give thanks to those who have died while in the service of our country. So, Mr. President, thank you for the time.
All right, thank you. We have no petitions this evening. We had no one sign up for communications during at least this portion of the meeting. We do have 2 people signed up for the miscellaneous, and I'm assuming one of those will actually probably talk during our public hearing. So at this point, we move into committee reports, which we have none, and we do have our public hearing, which at this point, Ms. Warden will be conducting this evening in Ms. Knapp's absence. So with this, I'll turn it over to Ms. Warden.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Yes, so this evening we will have a Laws and Ordinances Committee public hearing regarding a request to amend the zoning map for a parcel of land that's located on the west side of Burbank Road here in Worcester. Currently, the land is zoned R1 and R4, and the goal of this request would be to rezone that area to PD for planned development. Planned development would be a mix of uses, essentially. So there's a single-family detached dwelling and single-family attached dwelling, as well as a recreation facility and I believe an outdoor pool, or yeah, I think a pool. So with that, I'm not going to get too much in the weeds on this, but I would like to invite anyone from the public to speak on this matter if you would like to. So you can stand up at the podium and please state your name and address.
My name is Lynn Fry, and my address is 520 West Larwell Street. My mother lives next to the north entrance of this new development plan, and my biggest concern is I feel like they should have an alternate exit, egress, in and out, whatever you want to call it, because the fire department, the police department being there gets very full of traffic, backed up, and you can sit in her driveway for quite some time at some points. Was very noticeable when they did the roundabout on Oak Hill and the roundabout on Old Man Road. And so I can't imagine you put in 84 more housing units back there and you have 2 driveways. That just kind of looks to me like with the safety services area there, that would not be such a good safety measure. That was my major thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on this? Any council members with questions or comments? Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Stutzman, go ahead.
Merle Stutzman, Weaver Custom Homes, 124 East Liberty. John Long could not be here, so don't ask me really detailed questions tonight, but so as we submit this, you know, the questions might be, why do we need to redo the zoning? And I think there's a couple things that I want to touch on. You know, there's a whole bunch of things as life changes as we go along. We need to save farmland, so we need higher densities. The land costs are getting crazy, so the affordability, I'm not going to say it's affordable housing, because I don't know if there is anything that says affordable housing anymore, because it's crazy. But keeping the land costs down, and then lifestyles change. You know, younger families don't have as much time to mow the yard. They want to come home and sit at the pool with the kids or with their buddies at the pool or whatever, go out and bike or do whatever. You know, it's a walking distance to the soccer fields, all the shops and restaurants at the north end, so it's still an active community, putting a clubhouse in with a pool. So it's kind of a resort style living. And if you look at the density, kind of, it's similar to our condos that we've been doing. The condos just don't lend themselves to families because there's not a lot of place for kids to play or school buses to turn around in and all those kind of things. So it's similar in that case. If you look at Stapleton, Colorado, where the old airport was, when they built a new one in Denver, this is some of what they did with the old Stapleton area or Stapleton community. It's high density, and actually it's so big they have an elementary school in the middle of it. But it's happening in Central Ohio as well. I could give you 6 or 8 different locations in Central Ohio where this is coming in a trend for land use. So I think those are the things that we're looking to do. Again, it's people want more time with their family and friends, hanging out at the pool, whatever it be. The other huge benefit is 80-some more units, not a single foot of street for the city of Worcester to maintain. It's all private.
Thank you. Council? Yeah, I will add to that. I did speak with a couple of the members of the administration today, and I asked if this was located in the TIF zone that we've already established up on the north end of town, and it is. It wouldn't necessarily be taking advantage of that program based on the fact that, as Mr. Stutzman said, it is private property, so there'll be, I'm sorry, Joel, you're shaking your head no.
I just, when you're done, Jonathan can clarify how that would impact.
Okay, so right, basically that the tax dollars that are being paid, this is the way I understand it, that are being paid then by the property owners would be going back in to fund the TIF.
Fund public improvements, yes.
Correct. Those improvements we've already laid out, and what this would do is it would speed the recovery of that.
Correct.
So it would get more public funding back to entities quicker than without having it.
Right, so it's putting money in the pot without taking it out, which is a benefit for sure, especially for the recipients of that, the taxpayers and the schools. And yeah, I'm sorry if I didn't go over, I guess, in too much detail, but as was stated, there are 84 potential homes that would be there. This is approved unanimously through the Planning and Zoning Commission. I don't know, I guess if there's no questions from council.
I would ask one, and I direct it to Merle or Logan. Are these going to be spec homes to sell, or are they going to be custom homes by homeowners as they come in?
Probably some of each.
Okay.
Especially at the beginning, you got to spec, get something going in there. And then we would do spec as needed and custom as needed.
Okay.
Right at one of it.
Yeah, I did think it was interesting. There was a note in there about how using the planned development zoning standards, we would need to require default zoning, which would fall back to R3. So then there are still some stipulations that it wouldn't exactly meet that are in the R3. And so would those, Mr. Merriam, maybe you can explain, would those, like for example, the dwellings wouldn't necessarily meet the 50% facade requirement to be brick, natural wood, or stone. So would they have to apply for variances for those each individually, or how would that work?
No, the plan development allows for those deviations to occur
Okay.
in the approval process, and specifically the facade improvements will be related to only the attached. So the detached, there are no facade immediately attached up to effect, which are going to be on the west side of the development. But through the planning process, those differences in the standards will be either approved or modified as we go through.
It sounds like there are a couple of extra steps involving this, so it'll definitely be scrutinized by the planning commission.
Correct. What will happen next if city council approves the rezone, and the developer will then need to submit a final development plan meeting what was already approved in those variations and through the preliminary development process.
Well, I think, Weaver is a reputable company here, and we'd be lucky to have more homes built by them, so I look forward to seeing how this goes. Without any further questions, I would close this hearing.
Okay, thank you. We have no unfinished business from last week, so we'll move right into new business. First item is Resolution 2025-39. Ms. Wheeler, if you'll please read that for us.
Resolution number 2025-39, a resolution providing for the annual tax budget for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2026.
Mr. Abernathy, the floor is yours.
All right, so we got to do this every year. I would just ask Mr. Doherty if you want to speak on this today, or you want to wait until the public hearing that's coming up at the next meeting.
Quick reminder, it's a requirement of the Ohio Revised Code 5705-28, and it's basically just a preliminary budget for the 2026 calendar year.
All right, so I think we're going to obviously go through this more in detail at our next scheduled meeting. I believe it's not, or is it the public hearing? It's in June.
June 2nd.
June 2nd. So with that, we'll go ahead and leave it on the first reading.
All right, very good, thank you. Next item, Resolution 2025-40. Ms. Wheeler, please read it for us.
Resolution number 2025-40, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a partnership agreement with Wayne County and the city of Orville for making an application to the Ohio Department of Development, Office of Community Enhancements, for a small cities community development block grant for community housing impact and preservation funds, and allowing for immediate enactment.
Again, Mr. Abernathy, the floor is yours.
All right, we're looking to apply for grants, which is always good. Save us some money. It does look like it is a competitive application, so it's not automatic, so we got to put our best foot forward and try and win this money. So rather than me stumble around on it, I'll let Jonathan kind of tell us a little bit about it.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Abernathy. We're visiting again on our biannual SHIP application program, and I shared this with everybody, hopefully everybody in the audience. If you know of anybody in the community throughout Wayne County who might be struggling with their income situation and facing some critical home repair problems, maybe it's a leaking roof, maybe there's some sort of issue with their utilities that happen to be failing, or say a failing septic system if you're out in one of our neighboring townships. The SHIP program stands for Community Housing Impact Preservation. It's a grant program that provides grants and forgivable mortgages, 100% forgivable mortgages, to families in need in order to fix up their houses so that they can continue living in their home. And I want to say thank you to everybody here. This has been a team effort over the last almost 30 years now, working with Wayne County Commissioners, partner cities, Orville and Rittman, to help bring this together. But basically, we as several communities come together under a partnership, and it's led by the city of Worcester in order to make a competitive application to score those points as high as we can, in order to leverage these funds from the state of Ohio to bring them back home. And the state of Ohio is receiving them from the federal government. This is actually last year's federal funding allocation, so the state already has it. These are CDBG home funds through Housing and Urban Development. While there is some uncertainty about the path forward in future years, this funding is available for us to apply to right now. And we would like to be able to utilize that in order to make emergency home repairs and whole home rehabilitations available to families that need them. One of the other ways that we take a look at this is without making this investment, first of all, a lot of these funds end up in Delaware and New Jersey and Michigan, and heaven knows what they're going to do with those funds, so we may as well have them here. There are tax funds that we spend. Ohio's a donor state. For every dollar we spend, about 66 cents comes back. By putting effort into getting funds through programs like this, we can kind of help to tip those scales back in our favor. And help fix up houses within our community so that they don't turn into situations of blight that then our local taxpayers may have to pay to have demolished. So this has been a very successful program. We're hoping to tackle 30 different projects countywide if this grant's awarded. It does require going through a public process. We had 2 public hearings. For anybody who wants to learn about more details with this, we have some detailed information on our website that you can visit that'll share all those hearing details, or you can also just call us. We're always happy to talk. But beyond that, we would also look to partner in the upcoming piece of legislation with Wayne Metropolitan Housing Authority to help administer the day-to-day program, which includes hand-holding for clients who might be interested in going through this process, understanding that mortgage process. Again, it's a great way for us to help be able to preserve housing opportunities for our low-income residents. And thank you very much for the opportunity to share this and for having done this for so long.
Any procedural reasons why we should hold this up and send it to another reading?
I don't see any at this point. With our public hearing, we solicit comments, we receive none. Typically, if anything, we might be able to find a few applicants that way. We've received no comments this time around. It would help us with our process to move forward if it is possible to pass this evening. That would help us get this to the commissioners faster.
Okay. Yeah, it's a grant application permission, so I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Abernathy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaffey. Ms. Wheeler, please call the roll on the suspension of the rules.
Mr. Malta?
Yes.
Mr. Abernathy?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey?
Yes.
Ms. Warden?
Yes.
Mr. Huzay?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Huzay. Any comments from council? Questions?
I will just say I attended the Housing Coalition meeting last month, and there was a presentation regarding this program. It was very educational, and if you want to learn more about it, I'm not going to go into it, but it was really neat that this program exists and that we're participating. And it was a good meeting, good overview of what kinds of things we can do to help people.
Okay. All right. Ms. Wheeler, please call the roll on the adoption.
Mr. Malta?
Yes.
Mr. Abernathy?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey?
Yes.
Ms. Warden?
Yes.
Mr. Huzay?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Okay. It is adopted. Thank you all. Next item, Resolution 2025-41. Ms. Wheeler, please read it for us.
Resolution number 2025-41, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Wayne Metropolitan Housing Authority for administrative consulting services for a small cities community development block grant for a community housing impact and preservation program and allowing for immediate enactment.
For the last time tonight, Mr. Abernathy, the floor is yours.
All right. So I believe this is obviously attached to the last legislation so that we can partner with the Metropolitan Housing Authority to start putting together the application. Am I saying that correctly, Jonathan? All right. So obviously we need this piece to move forward with the last piece. Anything else you want to add to that?
Nope, that covers all of it. Thank you.
All right. So with that, Is there any questions by council, comments? All right, motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Malta. Ms. Willard, please call the roll on suspension.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Huzay?
Yes.
Mr. Abernathy?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey?
Yes.
Mr. Malta?
Yes.
Ms. Warden?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Malta. Ms. Willard, please call the roll on the adoption.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Huzay?
Yes.
Mr. Abernathy?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey?
Yes.
Mr. Malta?
Yes.
Ms. Warden?
Yes.
Okay. Well, there you go, Mr. Malay.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Now you can go to work again.
Yeah, we'll get right to it.
I'm sure you will. All right, well, our last two pieces will be introduced by Ms. Warden, but first we'll have Ms. Wooler read us ordinance 2025-09.
Ordinance number 2025-09, an ordinance amending Part 11 zoning of the codified ordinances of the City of Worcester, Ohio, to rezone land to PD plan development for property located on the west side of Burbank Road.
Ms. Warden, the floor is yours.
Thank you. As we just went over this in the public hearing, I'm not going to rehash all of the details on it. And this was originally Ms. Knapik's piece of legislation to introduce. So in her absence, I'm going to leave this on first reading this evening.
Okay. Any council members have any additional comments or questions? Okay, well, we've had our first reading on this. And with that, we'll move into our next item, which is ordinance 2025-10. But Ms. Wooler, will you please read it for us?
Ordinance number 2025-10, an ordinance approving an application for the renewal and expansion of the designated outdoor refreshment area in the City of Worcester, Ohio.
Ms. Warden, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So back in 2020, the city established a designated outdoor refreshment area, more commonly known as DORA. That program allows adults over the age of 21 to purchase alcoholic beverages in designated DORA cups from participating businesses and walk around downtown within the boundaries of this district. Based on Ohio Revised Code, municipalities that have these districts must reevaluate every 5 years, and we're at that 5-year mark. Upon reevaluation, the options are to renew, rescind, or expand. And according to both the Worcester Chamber of Commerce and Main Street Worcester, the program has been very successful and would benefit from expansion, both the boundaries and the hours. Currently, DORA is permitted from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Friday, and from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays, with event exceptions for things such as Worcesterfest. If this is approved, the expansion would set the DORA hours to 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. 7 days a week. Further, this expansion would extend the boundaries of DORA to include the Lyric Theater, all of the connecting alleyways downtown, and the Chamber of Commerce and Main Street Worcester offices. The boundaries and participating businesses are indicated by DORA signs that you've probably seen hanging up either in business windows or posted outside on near the sidewalks to let people know when they're approaching a boundary. And the police department has been informed of this proposed expansion and shared no concerns with the administration. And speaking with Mr. Tursky earlier today about this, it sounds like, the businesses that are participating in this program, as well as the ones who don't, who basically just are getting the shoppers and whatnot from people being downtown, are all benefiting. And so I noticed last Friday evening there was a pipe band playing down on the square, and it was very lively. There were a lot of people out on the square, and it looked like several of them were taking advantage of the DORA program. So it's nice to see, and anything that kind of boosts the economy downtown, I think all of our business owners appreciate. So that being said, I would open this up to any questions. I'm sorry, I should state that I'd also like to keep this on first reading tonight because I feel Ms. Knapik would like to weigh in on this, but given the fact that Mr. Tursky is here and knows a lot about this, if anybody on council would like to ask any questions.
I'm unclear. What was the police department's response? Have there been any incidents surrounding this for the last 5 years?
We've
So it's a problem. Thank you, Chief.
And I would express that Samira Zimmerly and Shannon Waller both expressed, they asked me when they wanted to come to talk about this. I told them since Barb wasn't going to be here, and this does have to go all 3 readings, we're not able, or council's not able to act on it until June 16th per the ORC regulations. I asked them to come to that June 16th meeting so they can, talk then and everyone can be here. So if that's okay with everybody.
We prefer them to sit through the readings. No, that sounds good, thanks.
Yeah, and I'll admit, is when this was first introduced, I was probably one of the skeptics that was like, okay, this is the craziest idea in the world. And it's actually, I think, probably one of the best things we've seen. I mean, it's just amazing. So I know it's...
We did have some conversations.
We did. That's what I say. It was, I remember many of those conversations, and it was one that was like, wow, but it's been a great program, so. All right, well, at that point, this has had its first reading, and yes, I'm sure Ms. Knappich definitely has some thoughts, so at this point, we'd like to allow her to have those. With that, that takes care of our legislative portion of the meeting. We do have a executive session, which at this point is not required. I guess if there's any, really isn't, I mean, if there's any, does anyone from council or any of the council members feel that we need to go into executive session, discuss property or potential personnel issues?
None that I'm aware of.
I could update council if council's interested in an update on some matters we discussed at the last meeting.
Motion to go into executive session?
Motion to go into executive session. Second by, I'm sorry, was that Mr. Abernathy? Ms. Wooler, please call the roll on the executive session.
Mr. Abernathy?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey?
Yes.
Mr. Huzay?
Yes.
Mr. Malta?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Ms. Warden?
Yes.
Okay, well, we are in executive session, and we, for the general public, will be back shortly.
It's just constant spasms, it never stops. I got one of those Theraguns that, like, as long as I hit my hip flexors, like, I'm good for like 5 or 10 minutes to turn around. But the minute I sit down, it all just tightens up again. It's a mess. Like I said, I got a report.
All right. We're back here in council chambers. Do I have a motion to?
Motion to come out.
Motion to
Second.
come out of executive session, seconded by Mr. Gaffey. Ms. Wooler, please call the roll.
Mr. Abernathy?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey?
Yes.
Mr. Huzay?
Yes.
Mr. Malta?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Ms. Warden?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you all for waiting. I see one of our miscellaneous speakers has left, but Patty Pittman, you want to step to the podium there and let us know what's on your mind, please.
Okay, I'm Patty Pittman. I live at 1585 Cedar Lane. I've lived there since 1994. When I first moved in there, there was no parking anywhere on that street. Here, a while back, someone came into you guys. It was a renter that lived across the street from me in a duplex. Wanted you guys to put parking on Cedar Lane. Now it's became a one-way street. There's so many cars that park on that side. The road's not wide enough. So I back out of my driveway. There's a car right behind my driveway. I have to back out into oncoming traffic. Almost got hit, I don't know how many times, just coming out of my driveway. I'm home from work. I come up the hill, there's cars coming straight at me. There's no place for me to get over. They're yelling at me. They want me to get over. Get over. I gotta come down the road. I said, where am I gonna go? I can't back up. I can't move over. There's no place for me to move. It has really become very unsafe for the parking situation on Cedar Lane. I mean, I've been a resident there for many, many years, and I really don't want to move because I like the neighborhood. It's just become very unsafe. So I really appreciate you guys to reconsider parking situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Stupid question, I should know this, but I don't off the top of my head. Where is Cedar Lane?
What's that?
Where is Cedar Lane?
It is off of Highland, between 585 and Portage.
Off of Highland Park.
Okay.
Yeah, it's off of Highland Park.
Oh,
It's the very
gotcha.
first street to the left if you're coming off of Portage.
Okay, oh, got, okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Hey.
And it's like, it's not like a straight street. It's an uphill. It's got a curve.
It's got a lot of curves in it,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's got a curve. It goes uphill. For my driveway, almost at the top. I'm the very next to the last house on the right on the street. And when I come out my driveway, I look down the street, but you can't really see a whole far way down because of the curve. So I have backed out before, nobody's coming, but as soon as I back out, there's a car coming. So that's how I've almost gotten hit. It's very dangerous.
Are they apartments or rental houses?
There is both. They have condos, there's like 2 sets of condos across the street from me, which is the worst problem. I mean, it's become to where people think the street is their driveway. They use their driveway to park a pontoon boat. Or they don't use their driveway at all and they park their cars on the street.
Got it, so
It's
they,
really become an issue.
so they have driveways and they just don't
They
use
have
them?
driveways, but some of them don't use it. There's one on the corner of Cedar and Brentwood. They live right here on the corner. They never use their driveway, but they park on Cedar Lane. Right there by the street, right by Brentwood.
Is there some sort of enforcement that we can,
So, I was just looking on the map, and there's several no parking anytime signs on one side or the other, but then if there's no sign on the other side,
Yeah,
then
on
you
the
can't
one
park
side,
there.
there's no parking at all because of the mailboxes.
Right.
Because the mailman has to be able to get,
So what we have is a traffic commission, and that involves the city traffic engineer, with our city engineer, it involves Assistant Chief Rotolo, our maintenance manager, and then several community members are on that. And so, and I'll get you the information for that, but that would be the first thing we will submit a request to the traffic commission,
okay.
and then they'll evaluate that, and you can come and present there, and they'll make a recommendation one way or the other.
So was
Get that information, I appreciate it.
was that changed?
I'm not, it looks like Cedar Lane had no parking anytime signs were put on one side or the other in various locations.
Okay.
So if nothing happens and a street goes in, you can park on either side of the street.
Right.
So the only thing that would have happened at some point in the past would have been somebody
No,
said,
when I moved in there was no parking on either side of the street. There was no parking signs all along both sides of the street. There
so
was
somebody
no
would have had to
parking
request
at
them to
all.
be removed.
Yeah, the lady across the street that lives in the condo.
So we can look at
She
that.
come to you guys, because she told me she come to the council meeting and asked you guys to put parking.
Yeah, that would have been-
Why there was no parking.
Well, she would have gone to the traffic commission, not to us.
Yeah.
But
This is where she told me she came.
Well-
She said
Yeah.
she came to the council meeting.
we wouldn't have been able to do anything without the
We
traffic
can also
commission.
look up the history, Scott, I'm sure he's taking notes. We can look up the history if and when that actually happened.
And they're the biggest problem. They're the ones with the pontoon boat and
I
the 4 cars along the
don't
street.
think they
and
can
right
park
behind
the
my driveway.
boat.
Not on the street, sounds like you said the
Yeah.
pontoon boat was in the
In his-
driveway.
Yeah, he parks it in his driveway. He has a duplex, he has a single car garage.
I know, I don't think they're allowed to park boats on driveways either.
Well, then somebody better do something about it, because he
Yeah, you would-
went in my yard yesterday,
Yeah.
getting his boat in his driveway.
Yeah, I would recommend calling the police.
Somebody will be taking a look at that since you brought that up.
I mean, he parks his camper out there.
That's not allowed either.
They need to move in the city.
Not more than one day.
Yeah.
But if you can give me that information,
No, I know.
that'd be great. I'll
Is it?
talk to you if I need to.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you.
guys for listening. You know, I've been here since 1994. This is the first council mean, I've been to.
Well, you gotta come back. One more fun than we look on TV, and then you come back.
You guys really discussed a lot of important stuff. Patty Pittman? $15.85.
Now let her.
Is this the person?
Yeah, no.
Canton? Is that the restaurant in Canton? Oh, no, it's not. Gosh, I want to say my neighbor's friend.
Well, with that, is there, well, Mr. Rizzi, any additional items you wish to share, miscellaneous?
For Mr. Barnett to speak for me.
You didn't sign up.
Just thanks to everybody who turned out to vote a couple weeks ago. I know Mr. Stutzman and his team left, but thanks to them and this development that's coming forward is going to be well worth it for the city. And that is all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Abernathy?
Well done to the Board of Elections on another successful election day. And obviously, Ms. Knappich is not here. I'll be sad to see her go as well as Mr. Myers. But we'll be welcoming in some new folks that will be joining us. So congratulations to the folks that are in the room as spectators today. And we look forward to working with you. So that's all I got.
All right. Mr. Gaffey?
Yeah, I would just second, it's going to be empty, feel a little bit empty with Mr. Myers and Ms. Knappich stepping off here in the next year, but glad we get to serve with both of them for a little longer anyway. But outside of that, I don't really have anything else to add.
All right, very good. Ms. Warden?
I'd like to congratulate all of the graduates that are happening, or that are graduating this time of year. I was spent yesterday at Worcester High School watching the commencement ceremony, and my nephew graduated, and I was very happy to see the last Worcester High School graduation I was at involved 2 emergency heat stroke removals. So when the clouds parted and the sun came out, it definitely got a little warm, but it was a beautiful day, and the valedictorian and salutatorian did a wonderful job. Their speeches were great, funny and eloquent, so it was a pleasure to witness that, and I'm excited for the future for the young people that are graduating. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Malta?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to thank all those that attended and that are watching us. That's all I have tonight.
Okay. Mr. Myers?
Thank you. I'm grateful and excited to see the pool project moving forward and all the hard work that people have put into that. That's going to be really great when we get that going. Thanks for those that came to the meeting this evening. Continue to send well wishes to Chief Fisher, and hope to see him back here soon. And that's all I have. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Abernathy. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you all.